Hey Astro Babes, I'm Ashley of More Than Your Sign Astrology, and welcome to As Above, So Below for the week of June 17th through June 23rd. In this video, I'll bring light to what the planets are doing up above and how those themes may show up for you in your life. As above, so below. At the end, I'll pull one card for additional guidance and clarity. Before we start, please hit all the buttons, subscribe so that you can be notified when I post and never have to wonder what to expect for the week ahead. So before we get into what to expect for this week, there's some pretty big shifts taking place that we're going to feel throughout the next 3 to 4 weeks. Both Venus and Mercury have shifted out of Gemini and into the zodiac sign of Cancer. And by the end of the week, the sun will also move out of Gemini into Cancer. So we just shifted from having a lot of planets in air, Gemini is an air sign, where there were themes of connecting with people, socializing more, being more busy, going places, doing things, being more curious and open-minded to hearing ideas and perspectives of others, to now having a lot of planets in water. Cancer is a water sign. Water signs don't really care to go out. They're not big on socializing, more reserved and introverted. And also, we're not just in any water sign. We're in the moody, crabby waters of Cancer. I can say that because I'm a Cancer. As you can tell, these are pretty big shifts. With Venus, Mercury, and the sun all in Cancer, you're going to start to see new themes showing up in your life. You may find that you're still longing for a sense of connection, but with Gemini, it was more of a flirtatious, platonic connection. Venus in Cancer will have you feel in the need for that deep, intimate, passionate love connection. It can be like daydreaming about Prince Charming. People with Venus and Cancer in their charts can have a strong need for harmony within a relationship. So people might be more agreeable and less likely to get into conflict during this time. Mercury in Cancer kind of influences that too, because it influences you to think about how other people might feel. Cancer is all about feelings. So you might be less selfish around this time and be thinking more about your family and the people you care about and how your actions may affect them. Just some food for thought over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Now for this week, a little disclaimer, the energy at the beginning of this week is merging with the end of last week's. I encourage you to go back and watch last week's episode so you can get a more clear picture of what's going on, what to fully expect. I also went into detail about how the transits work and how long we can expect to feel the energy before and after they connect. There's a link to that video down below. All right, so jumping into the week. Monday the 17th, Mercury will make a tense aspect to Neptune, which is going to cause some type of disconnect when we're talking to people. Mercury in our charts is about the way we communicate, the way that we transfer information to the next person, even how well we listen to other people. Neptune brings confusion. So simply put, Mercury square Neptune can be confusing conversations. People are saying stuff and you're like, what are you talking about? That's not true. I don't remember it happening that way, or even like, just get to the point. What are you trying to say? These are the types of scenarios that we're gonna find ourselves in this week. It reminds me of my teenage son who literally cannot give me a straight answer to save his life. If I ask him something, he talks in circles. Both of us end up getting confused and I'm like, what does that even have to do with anything? Like, can you just answer the question? It can be mentally draining, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Miscommunications, misinformation. People will intentionally or unintentionally not be telling the full story. Details can get left out. Maybe there's a motive behind it, maybe not. Maybe someone genuinely forgot to mention XYZ. I would not take anything at face value this week, and maybe try to give some grace when talking to people. One other thing I want to mention with Mercury squaring Neptune is Mercury governs transportation, driving, operating a vehicle of any kind, boat, plane, car, whatever. Neptune governs substances and altered states of reality, like what happens when we consume drugs or alcohol. So Mercury square Neptune could be a drunk driver or a driver who's under the influence of some sort. People who are taking a break from or have vowed to discontinue substances could find them again this week. You could see someone overdoing it with those things. So be careful, be aware of your surroundings, and really try to focus. It's going to be difficult to concentrate at this time, but trying to focus your attention on practical, concrete things can help to kind of pull you out of that fog that comes with Neptune. Remember that transits are temporary, so if you can get through this week, next week will be a little bit lighter. Moving on to the latter half of the week, Thursday the 20th, the Sun will square Neptune. I've got a lot to talk about Neptune lately. This is honestly pretty similar to what we talked about earlier with Mercury squaring Neptune and what I talked about last week that's merging with this week. Go and catch that episode. The link is down below. But the Sun making this tense aspect to Neptune can just have you feeling drained or defeated and unmotivated to do anything or get anything done. The Sun speaks to your physical body and your vitality, your energy level, and how active you are. Neptune is like a tired, dazed, and confused type state. And after dealing with all these challenging Neptune transits all week, having this one right at the end can have you just done. Mentally, physically drained, tired, done. Everything feels like a struggle. Nobody listens. Relationships are not what you thought they were. You just want to crawl in a ball and disappear or escape through substances like we talked about earlier. Before you do any of that, I want you to stop and take a deep breath. Think about what it is that you need in this moment. It's probably a break, a separation from everything you've been dealing with. How you choose to separate is going to be different for everybody. You might just need to take a nap and recharge. You would really be surprised how refreshed you feel after you take a nap and wake up. It could also be beneficial to separate yourself from other people because a lot of times when you're around people, you can take on their energy and it can really deplete your energy without you even knowing it. Especially if you're someone who has a high level of water in their chart. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces energy, you are more sensitive than you realize to picking up what other people put out. At any rate, it's going to be helpful for you to find ways to quiet your mind, shut off your brain, and ground yourself. Music. Losing yourself in the music can be very therapeutic. Depending on your chart, Sun square Neptune could also be a time where you catch a cold or you start feeling sick. So make sure your body is getting the proper rest. All right. After the Sun squares Neptune, he's going to move right into the sign of Cancer, officially kicking off Cancer season and the start of summer. Don't you just love Cancer season? The Cancer Sun will oppose the Capricorn Moon, bringing in a full moon in the sign of Capricorn. This full moon in Capricorn is placing a spotlight on practical matters. Let me try to break this down. There's been a lot of talk about Neptune and the kind of energy Neptune can bring. Neptune is a dream. It's the vision. And Capricorn is practical. Capricorn's motto is hard work equals success. That dream is nice. What are you going to do to attain it? Says the Capricorn. This full moon, although in Capricorn, still has a lot of Neptunian influence, and it's going to feel destabilizing. I don't know how else to put it. Full moons in general are a time where people can have trouble sleeping, they feel anxious and agitated and just emotional. And some people aren't the best at dealing with their emotions or those subconscious urges that can be stimulated during a full moon. That's why you hear things like, oh, it's a full moon, the crazies are out. So however you're feeling, however you've been feeling for the past couple of weeks, this is going to be amplified. Your emotions are going to be heightened. Anxiety is going to be in full effect. So take extra care of yourself and your personal needs. On a positive note, full moons are illuminating. Things that are in the dark are brought to light so that you're able to get more clear on next steps forward. All of that confusion, anxiety, uncertainty is going to start to subside. Full moons are also about celebrating wins. So don't forget to celebrate how far you've come in any capacity and letting go of things that are standing in your way. So think about that. Who's standing in your way? Or what is holding you back? Or what is holding you down? Maybe you're standing in your own way. Now is the time to recognize it, acknowledge it, and figure out how to end this cycle so you can move forward and on to the next. All right, let's pull a card. I'll be pulling from the Modern Witch Tarot, a wonderful beginner-friendly deck that gives a great visual of the original card meaning. And as always, I'll be reading the message from the Ultimate Tarot Guide, or as I like to call it, the Big Bitty Book. I feel it gives a more clear description of the intended message. Both the Modern Witch Tarot and the Ultimate Tarot Guide can be purchased on my Amazon storefront, and I've got links in the description down below. What should we know for this week? All right, I pulled the Nine of Swords. What a freaking perfect card with all this Neptunian energy. The Nine of Swords suggests that dark thoughts and disturbing feelings are weighing you down, keeping you up at night. You're worrying excessively about a situation, and your negative thoughts are getting the better of you, leaving you stressed and anxious. The more you associate with your fears, the more they will rule your life. As you obsess over what's not working, the more anxious you become, and the more you will worry. It becomes a negative cycle where one awful thought leads to another and another and another until they overwhelm you. Just as the 9 swords are stacked upon each other on the wall, so too are your negative thoughts. Be careful, because the fear and worry in the 9 of Swords can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. As you obsess over what may go wrong, you're more likely to manifest your worst case scenario, because you're inadvertently acting in ways that support your negative thoughts. The 9 of Swords asks you to break this cycle. Every time a negative emotion comes up, replace it with a positive one. Much of the fear and worry that you're experiencing is in your head and not necessarily an accurate reflection of what's happening around you. You may make things worse for yourself by overthinking or worrying about the worst case scenario. This card is asking you to break that cycle. It's time to examine your situation from a new perspective. Instead of looking for evidence of what's wrong, put your attention on what's going right. The 9 of Swords often crops up when worry, despair, and anxiety are quite literally keeping you up at night. Okay, this card is literally about all of the Neptunian energy that we've been experiencing over the last week, and that we've talked about of what we can expect for this week. Neptune is about altered states of reality. It can have you paranoid and leave you really worried about things that may or may not be true. Neptune brings confusion and delusions. At this time, you are not seeing things clearly. Just like we talked about, if you're getting information that's coming into you from other people, or even if you're telling yourself information that may not be the case. So avoid making any rash decisions at this time. Try to avoid having any dire conversations at this time. This is just not the week to do that. Now, toward the end of the week, we've got a full moon in Capricorn, which is going to urge us to ground ourselves, to think on a more practical level. It's also going to illuminate what's real and what's not real. Things are going to be unearthed. And it doesn't have to be like this big secret is revealed. It could be, but it could just be that you gain clarity on a situation that you've been confused about. Neptune brings this fog and this mist, and then the full moon comes, and all of a sudden the fog is lifted. And now you're able to see things from a different perspective. You're able to gain new insight, and you have the ability to shift your focus even. After we get past this week into next week, you're going to start to feel more functional. Like this week can feel like you are under this spell or under the influence, just not all in your body, like just not all present, not all here. And then the Capricorn full moon comes and you're going to feel like you've sobered up. Now you can breathe, and now you can see, and now you have a more clear path forward. Whatever you're going to be experiencing this week, there's a reason for it. Most likely the reason is that you're being called to face something that you don't want to face. This week you're going to discover what that is, and you're going to have to face it. Maybe even something that you have to sacrifice or be willing to let go of so that something new and better and more aligned with you can come through. The only other thing I want to mention is to not forget that full moons are a time for celebration. So no matter what's going on in your life, I guarantee that there is at least something good, something positive, something uplifting that you can shift your attention to, even just for a moment, and give thanks for it, show appreciation for. Well, I hope this breakdown of what to expect this week was helpful and insightful. Please don't forget to hit all the buttons, subscribe to my channel so that you continue to get weekly insights. Also, I would love to hear your stories of how the energy is showing up for you, so please leave a comment down below. And if you'd like some one-on-one guidance, you can book a personal reading at my website, mtysastrology.com. While you're there, subscribe to my newsletter so you can get a free copy of my ebook, How to Parent Children by Their Moon Sign, because as we know, as above, so below. I'll see you next week.